Hello everybody, I'm Kamaleao, welcome to my channel. In this video I'm going to review the Gadgetzan cards and look where... I'm going to look at those that I misinterpreted or where I made predictions that turned out to be wrong. I already did that with the neutral cards in a separate video which you can find on in my channel. And in this video I'm going to go over the class cards. I'm going to start with Mage, and for Mage you have the Cabal Lackey, and where's the other one? The Crystal Runner. I did think, yeah, in a secret deck those would be quite good. I mean, this one essentially saves you 3 mana, and this one could be a 0 mana 5/5, which is pretty strong. But yeah, the secret deck never really took off. Almost nobody plays it, and so these cards see pretty much no play. Then we have the Greater Arcane Missiles. I have not seen this card being played once, as far as I can remember. I didn't think that this card might not be bad. I thought it could be quite strong, especially in combination with spell power. Apparently I was very wrong, though I still think this might be a meta issue. 7 mana is a lot. And at that time you have often already either won or lost the game. And even if you have not lost yet or won yet, you'd probably prefer Flame Strike against all the aggro decks. And you can't really afford to run too many high cost cards. So on the 7 mana spot, you would probably not choose this over Flame Strike. Flame Strike is just more useful in more situations. So yeah, this card got it wrong. Quite heavily, apparently. Then there's the Inkmaster Solia. I did think that this card would have limited usefulness, and it seems like I overrated it. I can't remember ever seeing this card being played against me. So, yeah, I overrated that one. It's just... you don't, especially a Rito deck, you don't have that many spells, you can't afford to run that many high cost spells, and there's just too much of a risk that you have already played your Flame Strike, and yeah, it's pretty much the only high cost card that you're going to run before you play Inkmaster Solia. So yeah, too unstable, not good enough. Let's go on to Paladin. The Getaway Kodo. I did think this would be a very good card for tech cards like Bran or for strong battlecry cards, but apparently there aren't enough or any powerful enough cards like that to make Kodo good enough to see play, and I did see some people experiment with that early on, but by now nobody plays this. Then we have all the hand buff cards, so the Grime Street Outfitter, the Grime Street Enforcer, and, well, this is one that benefits from that, the Mean Street Marshal. They saw play in the hand buff Paladin, or hand buffadin, or buffadin, or whatever you want to call that. But that deck died down pretty quickly, so it essentially sees no play. Ah yes, the Smuggler's Run also was one of those. And that's pretty much it for Paladin. The rest was more or less spot on with the cards. So let's go on to Priest. Priest, Pint-Sized Potion. I played around with this a bit. It's a lot of fun when it works in combination with other cards, but it's just too rare and too dependent on a good draw, because this card on its own is almost always close to useless. You have to have it in combination with Shadow Word Horror, or with Potion of Madness, or the other one that steals a card, or Cabal Shadow Priest. It has to be in combination. And that is just unreliable. You have the risk of this just sitting on your hand doing nothing, and that's bad. So, even though I liked it, I almost never saw any other person play it, and I get why. Potion of Madness. That's another card that I played, and I had decent success with it, but sometimes it just sticks on your hand and is useless against certain decks, and that can cost you the game. Even against aggro decks, if things work out and you kill 2 minions for 1, then this is very good. But it's just too unreliable, it's too unstable. It's better when you just play something out on yourself on your own board, so you can be proactive and not only reactive. So barely saw anybody other than me play this. Next thing, which I got pretty much very wrong, is the Greater Healing Potion. I did think that this would see some play, especially against aggro. Yeah, if you just need to survive and hang on to the game a little bit longer. But even though it heals a lot, it doesn't do anything to help you on the board, and as a result it's barely ever played. Funnily enough, especially against aggressive decks, because healing alone doesn't really help you enough against those, if you can't develop the board. It's actually better to just, if you have AoE that just kills all the enemy minions, that's better than restoring 12 health to yourself. So yeah, this card barely ever saw it. A few times in like Reno decks, but very, very rarely. Draconid OP. This card is bad. No, it's not. It's OP. But I did think and this is not so much a case where I think I misinterpreted the card. I think this is where I was pretty much spot on, and I just want to gloat over that. I did think that this card is extremely strong. In fact, I think it's even stronger than I thought it was. I'd say it's probably the single strongest card in the game. But it does have the problems that I thought it would have. While it is an addition that made Dragon Priest stronger, Draconid OP is not in the mana range where Dragon Priest really needed a buff. When you got to the point where you were at turn 5, turn 6 and not yet dead and still in the game, and in the game enough to just play something that doesn't wipe the board or save you, then you were in a good spot with Dragon Priest already. So even though this card is OP, Dragon Priest isn't as a result of it, because the weaknesses of Dragon Priest are still there. It's gotten stronger in an area where it already was strong. And yeah, that's mainly my corrections and ideas about Priest. Next one, let's go to Warlock. Now we have a bunch of demon synergy cards like Blood Fury Potion, the Crystal Weaver, the Cabal Trafficker in a way, and Cruel the Unshackled. What all of these cards have in common is that nobody plays them. For a simple reason, there's no demon deck, and no demon deck, no Blood Fury Potion, no demon deck, no Crystal Weaver. So yeah, that's a bit sad. I had feared that this would happen because there are not enough good demons around, but still it's sad. I would have liked a demon deck. The Felfire Potion does see play. I mainly saw it in Reno decks though, but it does see more play than I would have anticipated. Same thing for the Abyssal Enforcer. It sees more play than the 6/6 deal 1 damage, which is what I thought. It is pretty much a staple in Reno decks, I'd say. So yeah, it's better than I would have thought, but not by a huge amount. Now let's go to Warrior. We have all the taunt-based cards, like I Know a Guy, the Public Defender, Stolen Goods, Grimy Gadgetzan is not so much, but it would benefit a lot from a taunt deck. And LA Amosmith. And what all of these cards have in common is that they see pretty much zero play, because the taunt deck, it was tried by some people a little bit, but it never took off, and as a result pretty much all the taunt-based cards see close to zero play. Now Hobart Grapplehammer. Even though he has a great name, it's one of the cards that I misjudged. I thought it would be pretty good in weapon-based decks, because it could give you, when you have enough weapons and you play it early on, could give you a lot of value. But, well, the weapon decks we have are aggressive decks, and aggressive decks don't care so much about value, they care about tempo. And when you care about tempo more than about value, then there are better weapon buff cards available. Those that give you +1/+1 for the weapon that you have, which is better tempo-wise. It's far worse value-wise, but when you only care about tempo, this card is worse than some other stuff. So yeah. The Grime Street Pawnbroker probably has the same problem, or roughly a similar problem. It does give you a tempo-wise a better buff, but there are enough cards that do that, like Upgrade, and there's a 3/4 that does that. Granted, only when you have a pirate out, but that's your plan anyway, so this sees... these rarely sees play. And for all the other cards, I think I was pretty much close to what they turned out to be. Now let's go to Rogue. We have the Counterfeit Coin. I did think this card would be very good, especially in Miracle Rogue. But, well, Miracle Rogue practically doesn't exist anymore. Rogue is generally barely in the game anymore, so you will almost never see this card. Whether that's only because this card is far worse than I thought it would be, or because Rogue in general is so bad that nobody plays it, I don't really know. But the result is you don't see this card. And you have all the Jade cards, so Jade Shuriken, Jade Swarmer. Is there another? No, there's not. No other. Jade Swarmer. They aren't bad, strictly speaking. Especially the Swarmer in combination with all the Death Rattle synergy you can have in Rogue. But they are generally not good enough to be competitive, and you will barely see them. Again, is it because those cards aren't good enough for a Jade deck, or is it because Rogue in general isn't strong enough? I don't know. I played around a while with a Rogue Jade deck, and it wasn't bad, it's just too much dependent on having a good draw, drawing the right combination of cards, and if you don't draw that, then you're essentially dead. So it's just not stable enough. Then there's also all the stealth card and stealth synergy cards. There is no stealth deck, so there's none of these cards ever played, which is a bit sad. And this one is just terrible. So that's Rogue. It's a bit depressing. Let's go on to Shaman. Finders Keepers. I did think, well, it's a 1-drop. It might have Overload synergy. Discovering something for 1 mana is potentially, possibly good, but I have never seen this card in play. Could have potentially have multiple reasons, not enough Overload synergy cards or whatever, but yeah, bottom line, this card, you don't see it. Devolve. I did see Devolve a few times, but it is pretty rare. That might be because one of the potential uses of this card that at least I saw is to destroy specific combo and synergy decks like Murloc or N'Zoth decks. But since those practically don't exist, this card rarely makes sense at all. So that's a bit sad. I think this card is cool, but yeah, you won't see it. Jade Claws and all the Jade cards, so Jade Claw, Jade Lightning, to a lesser extent Jade Chieftain. Let's just talk about Jade Claws and Jade Lightning first. I think they aren't bad per se, they did see some play, but Jade Shaman isn't really a thing. If you want to play Jade, you play Druid. And without the Jade synergy, yeah, Shaman just has better cards to choose from, both when it comes to direct damage and when it comes to weapons. So you don't see these. And Jade Chieftain is, I think, bad even in a Jade deck because it's just too expensive, it's too slow, it comes in way too late. At that point you have either already won or lost, or you need something, you could just play something better for 7 or 8 mana. And that's, yeah, where I was wrong with the Shaman. Now we go to Druid. Jade Idol. I did think that Jade Idol would be pretty good. It's better. It's hands down the best Jade card. In combination with Auctioneer, it pretty much makes a deck. So yeah, that's insane. Now let's go to Mark of the Lotus. I thought it might be in a Token Druid, but Token Druid is pretty much non-existent. And it did see some play in the Egg Druid deck, but that one wasn't really widespread, so Mark of the Lotus, very, very rare card. You see it sometimes, but it's not by in any stretch of the imagination a card you will see a lot. Now, next is the Jade Blossom. I wasn't so certain about this card. I thought on one hand, ramp is good, getting Jade Golem is good. On the other hand, having too many ramp cards is not so good, and having expensive ramp cards is also not so good, because when you get ramp late, that's not good. But it is better than I had thought. It's in pretty much every Jade Druid deck. And essentially, if you get this early, it's great because it ramps your mana and your golems and you get something on the board. And if you get it late, you tend to get a big golem out of it, which is good enough. And it's a spell, and yeah, generally quite good card. Pilfered Power. I think pretty much everybody thought up scenarios where this card is insane. I've never seen this card being played against me, and I've never actually tried playing it, so it seems it stayed at the thought experiment stage. So it's worse than I would have thought, even though I didn't think it would be very good. And last but not least, Kuhn, the Forgotten King. This one did see some play in the Aviana Kuhn combo deck, but those decks are insanely slow, very vulnerable to aggro, and as a result they died out pretty quickly. And I never saw Kuhn being played outside of that deck, and I never saw anybody choose the armor option, so all in all this card is far weaker than I would have anticipated. Though I think that is in large part, the reason for that is in large part in the current meta, which is just very aggressive, and 10 mana cards are generally almost, it almost doesn't matter what a card does. If it costs 10 mana in the current meta, it's not very good. And that's it for Druid. Now let's go to the last class, which is Hunter. You have all the buff cards, or let's say just the cards that I misinterpreted. I thought stuff like Smuggler's Crate, Troc Beast Rager, Rat Pack, and Dispatch Kodo would be great cards. They would be really strong. And in a way they are, as a combination, but only when they work out the way you want them to. If they don't, well then they're not good. And in a very aggressive meta, they aren't reliable enough, because sometimes you have to wait till you draw the right combination of cards, and if you wait, then you die. You have to essentially play out stuff as quickly as possible in order to keep up on the board. And yeah, that just doesn't work. As a result, these see almost no play, and the same thing can pretty much be said about Hunter class in general. That's what I wanted to have to essentially correct about my predictions about the cards. Now let's do the legendary. Typing is hard. Let's do the same thing I did with the legendaries, with the neutral legendaries. Look through which ones see play. So, Kuhn saw a little bit of play in one specific deck that didn't work out, and as a result sees 0 play. Knuckles, 0 play, never saw that card. Inkmaster Solia, I did see a few people play around with it and try it, but it didn't really work, and as a result it sees pretty much no play. Wake Flame Burn Bristle, I did see it 1 or 2 times, but it's a not so great card in a class that sees I mean, the whole Paladin class sees almost no play. So yeah, this is pointless. Raza the Chained. This one does see play in the Priest Reno deck, though Priest Reno is... It exists, some people play it, it's not bad, but it's not insanely good. And it's not insanely widespread, so... In one specific, somewhat rare deck, this is in it pretty much all the time. But apart from that, no. No, never... I think once I saw this, but... It's a bad, or not good, legendary in a class that generally sees no play, so you never see this, almost. White Eyes isn't bad, but it's a bit slow, it comes in a bit late, but it's okay. The thing is, if you play Shaman, you generally play an aggressive Shaman, and it doesn't really have a place in an aggressive deck. As a result, you barely see it. This one, no. Just no. I've never seen this card in play. Even without the has no duplicates thing, I think this card would see no play. Because there just aren't that many useful demons that that warrant a card that is that expensive, and yeah, no. Never see this card. And Hobart Grapplehammer. I did see it a few times early on when people were experimenting. Then everybody settled on different buff or other buff cards, and this one sees almost no play since then. So as a result, we have no. I mean, maybe in specific scenarios, one. Yeah. We have one class legendary that sees play in a specific deck, and all the others are... you can just ignore them. Yeah, which is great, having that many legendaries which are only there to exist and not to be played. Also, as well, my last thing for this is... It always used to be the case that specific classes were played more and other classes were played less. We did have a time where Priest was almost non-existent in the game because it was just terrible. I'd say at the moment we have 3 classes that are see almost zero play, at least from my personal perspective, from how many from the games I have played, and I tracked where what kind of decks I played against. Hunter is almost not in the game anymore, Paladin is almost not in the game anymore, and Rogue is almost not in the game anymore. Which is sad, because I really like Rogue. But, well, that's the way it is. So yeah, that's my prediction for the class cards. I'd be interested if you have any class cards that you thought would be amazing and they turned out to be quite terrible, or the other way around, where you thought, okay, this card is crap, and then everybody played it. If you do, tell me in the comments below, and I'll see you next time. So long, have a good time. I'm Kamaleao. Goodbye.